I'm bored. Let's read a book. Oh! Skirting Passero was easy enough, except for the river bridge that held towers and a guard force. While the towers would hold against brigands, I doubted they would stop even a few score of well-trained and armed men. They didn't have to. The gate just had to stop us. So Gerlach and I waited nearly till dusk, and until I sensed the gate left open and slipped through, going the other direction. They even left the gate open while 3 of them checked under the bridge from the mountainside. I didn't wait for them to finish, taking Gerlach slow step by slow step across the stones, hoping that the gentle click of his hooves would be muffled by the rush of the narrow river below the bridge. All the practice had given me a fairly good sense of place without seeing, but I still worried that someone could see through the reflective shield. In a way, it was faith, sheer faith, to walk beside an armed guard with a sword ready to use, separated from that violence by the thinnest of light curtains, and I couldn't even sigh. Beyond that gate, Passero was open enough, though Gerlach and I quickly left it well behind as we continued into the forested hills beyond the town. I dropped the shield as soon as possible after turning into the trees, once the road curved out of sight. From that point on, I would be a journeyman woodworker, only with a horse, because of my unsettled youth and trouble in Freetown. With each step toward the plains of Galilus, the hills became more gentle, the trees less frequent, and the air warmer. If a temperature that left the clay on the road a cold gelatin, rather than the stone-hard ice, could be called warm. The rock fences by the road gave way to rock posts and split rails, and these in turn were replaced by all wooden rail fences that seemed too spindly to contain stock or hold up against a strong wind. The infrequent and clear brooks gave way to half-empty or totally empty canals, flowing in grids between ever vaster and flattening expanses of stubbled fields. After Passera, I finally stopped in a crossroads with no name and slept in the stable with Gerlach. It looked cleaner than the battered inn. Even so, the cost was 3 coppers for me and 2 for Gerlach. I didn't ask about a room. For breakfast, I paid another copper for half a loaf of brown bread and a cup of red berry. From there, another day took me into lands so flat and treeless that you almost couldn't tell where the horizon was. In the middle of the treeless expanse flowed the river of Galilus, nearly a K across and less than a rod deep in early winter. 2 side-by-side stone spans crossed it, one for traffic in each direction, each one wide enough for the largest of farm wagons. Another night in the stable followed, but the Prosperity Inn in Neblet offered edible food and a clean straw pile for no more than the night before. The right-hand road out of Neblet at the end of the 3rd day brought me to the low hills leading up to Fenard, and the welcome sight of trees, bare and leafless trees, not conifers, but trees nonetheless. It also brought the 2nd guard station. Where are you bound, young fellow? Fenard. For the guards? I looked at the 2 brawny soldiers and shook my head. I don't know much about war. I'm just a journeyman woodcrafter. Where are your tools? That's my problem, sir. I was in Freetown and things changed rather sudden-like. Just any weapons? Just my belt knife. I can hold my own with it. The guards, veterans each, tried to hold back their grins. So did I. I would have grinned in their place. You understand, young fellow, that you can't support yourself. You have to leave Fenard or join the guards. I would? I asked, trying to look puzzled. You would. Creak. A wagon pulled up onto the stones behind me. Be on your way, fellow. I flicked the reins, and Geralt carried me forward up on the slope. 3 hills and a bridge later, and near supper time and twilight, we stopped at the city gate. On the horizon to the north and to the west, I could see a glitter of light, presumably the not-too-distant Westthorns. Unlike Jellicoe, the wall around Fenard was token, where it existed, and the gate was more of a formality than a real check. A bored and much flabbier guard on the one side of the hillside gate looked at me and waved me on. Once in the streets, I stopped a youngster, round-cheeked and grinning, to ask for directions to the quarter with the most woodworkers. Mills, you mean? They're out on the mill gate, not in the city. No, fine carpenters, crafters. The kind that make cabinets and chairs? I nodded. That's by the mill quarter, straight down the market street there. As far as you can go. A copper, and I'll show you myself, take you right down to the Tap Inn, where Masters Perlot and Gerald drink. They might be there now. I tossed him a copper. I can barely afford that, boy. The barefoot youth just grinned. Come on, move that toy pony. I could have found the Tap Inn with little difficulty, and even 1 copper was getting to be important. Sometimes you guessed wrong, and the youngster probably needed the copper more than I did. At the crossing of the unnamed street to the mail gate and then Market Street, also without a name written down anywhere, stood a narrow 2-story timber building. On the hearth and chimney were stone, although the street-level walls and pigeons rode under the eaves of the end away from the hearth. A portly and balding man stood, in a leather vest and no jacket, levering a long pole into the street's single oil lamp. As Gerlach skirted a tinker and his pushcart, the man coaxed the lamp into light, even though the sun's red ball had not yet dropped from the twilight sky. 2 middle-aged men, not quite stooped nor erect, wore dark cloaks, stepped into the narrow doorway on the Market Street side. As the door opened, a burst of laughter escaped. Scoundrels! Away from. My guide pointed. That's the place, the stable's in back. What's your name? Erlyn. You can find me near the east gate most afternoons. He turned and was gone, almost at a run. The Tap Inn was mostly eatery and drinkery, with 5 empty stalls that barely merited the title of the stable. But there was an overhead loft, and another copper gave me the privilege of paying 3 coppers to sleep there, and 3 more to stable Gerlach. The stable hand was rushed, trying to get back to the inn, where, from his club, heavy arms, and large belly, and low voice, his job appeared to be keeping order while stuffing himself from the kitchen. No trouble, boy, you understand? Keep that mountain beast under control and close the stall door. I nodded and began to brush Gerlach, much as I needed to eat, and to listen to the whispered soul of Fenard, and unfiltered through those loosened tongues. I was in no hurry. I forced myself, after I had found some grain for Gerlach, to amble into the Tap Inn through the same side door I had watched the older men enter. Holding back, I watched the din while I let my eyes adjust. 6 men gathered at the sole round table in the room, each cradling a tankard, big earthenware mugs. 4 widely spaced wall oil lamps and a low fire supplied the light. Grease burning off a stove somewhere, and the green wood burning in the fireplace, supplemented the acrid smoke. Add that to the sourness of spilled raw wine and cheap beer, the sweat of working men, and the combined odor defined the top inn. I preferred the stable. Instead, I eased for the small corner table, vacant, as I discovered, because it wobbled, alarming me even on the uneven plank floor. Wine or beer? The serving girl had unruly black hair, a thin face and body, lavish scarf from the right corner of her mouth to her ear. You have red berry? Costs a copper, just like beer. Red berry. Bread and cheese? Copper gets you 2 slices and a small wedge of yellow. 2, and you get 4 slices and a wedge of white. 2 slices and the yellow. I put 2 coppers on the table, then covered them with my hand. She nodded and left, the red stuff and a small bread and cheese. The 6 men around the center table were joined by a 7th. Rastin! Always the last. Did your new apprentice have to slaughter the horse for glue? Double fine for the man. Thunk, red berry slopped into my hand. By the time I looked up at the girl, she was flirting with the stooped Rastin. He didn't seem to mind at all. A pair not much older than me, sitting a table away, began to talk louder, to be heard over the older center group. You think about Destrin, the daughter. She's nice enough. No future there. Seeing the servant girl coming, I had the coppers and my question ready. Which one is Pearlet? She jabbed a thumb at the 7, including Rustin, the latecomer. Silver hair, thin guy next to the fellow nearest the door. Want anything else? Not now. She was headed back to flirt with Rastin. The bread was neither fresh nor stale, but somewhere in the middle. But the cheese was sharp and cool, better than I expected. Benches for the pits, and they wanted black oak for that price. Can you believe it? Another wizard loosened the east thorns. Walked through a wall. Just an excuse because the fellow skipped and didn't pay. That's all. The nearest pane got me up and left. No one took their place. Sitting in the corner on the long bench, I nursed one red berry, then another, listening not only to the other group, but to the others scattered throughout the room. Apprenticeship with his daughter? That's a prison. He'd like those golden chains, wouldn't you, Sander? Wouldn't you? Forget. Say some of the old Duke's guard trying to carve their own place. Northern Kypros, wilderness. Audark will show them. How'd you like her bread? Let's have another round. Who's paying? Between the continuing smoke from the kitchen, the pervasiveness of my soured beer and wine, and the acridness of green wood in the hearth, my eyes burned, but I kept listening, waving the thin serving girl with the scar down her cheek, nursing my second red berry, and watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of my videos. See y'all in the next one. Goodbye!